Mic gue udah di-unmute belum?
Belum ada suara ya dari IESR?
Saya?
Oh ya, terima kasih.
Selamat pagi Pak Gustaviano, thank you
Selamat
ya.
pagi Pak Fabi. Waduh.
Long time no see.
Iya, long time no see nih. Aduh, kapan nih kita ngopi-ngopi lagi?
Waduh, saya tunggu diundang sama Pak Direktur lah.
Aduh, kita menyesuaikan lah. Kan Pak Fabi
ada protokol pandemi soalnya.
Yes, ya. Segar nih ngeliat Pak Fabi nih, aduh.
Ya. Ini dari Pejambon, Pak Direktur?
Iya, siap. Kami dari Pejambon. Cuman latar belakangnya aja. Betul.
Selamat pagi Bapak Ibu sekalian semuanya. Kita akan memulai sebentar lagi sambil menunggu beberapa peserta lagi akan masuk. Mohon berkenan untuk menunggu 1 menit.
Baik. Anyway, Pak Fabi, this will be conducted in English, right?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
That's right.
Okay.
Ya Pak. Di mute dari Mbak Uli aja, jangan Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Welcome to the Climate Transparency Report 2020 Indonesia Profile Launching Event, proudly presented by Institute for Essential Services Reform. My name is Ganda from IESR. This launching event will be comprised of 3 sessions of the study launch, followed with a panel discussion. We will have a break during lunchtime, and you may please join us again with the same link as you have now at 2 p.m. Jakarta time. If you have time, please join us as well later in the afternoon event for the awarding session of Climate Innovation Hack to celebrate and witness the bright ideas from the youth of Indonesia in video challenge formats. Before we begin, briefly, please allow me to address the housekeeping rules for today's sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, we will conduct the morning session in English and the second session in Indonesian language. The interpretation services is available for participants who join us via Zoom application. The interpreter feature is available to switch between language that are available at the bottom menu at your screen. Throughout the session, you may raise questions addressed to the panelists. Please kindly type your question on the live chat box, both on the live chat room at Zoom and also on YouTube, that are available both at Zoom and YouTube. Please be sure to clearly mention your name and to whom do you ask the question to. We would like to welcome you all also to join the conversation online by using the hashtag CTReport2020, and please do mention us on social media. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the webinar and enjoy the webinar for today.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Climate Transparency Report launch webinar. My name is Gabby, and today I will be the host for the first session. But before we begin, I will briefly describe the rundown of the webinar. Today, we will start with the opening speech by Mr. Fabi Tumiwa, the Executive Director of Institute for Essential Services Reform, followed by the keynote speech addressed by the Director for Development, Economic and Environmental Affairs from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Agustaviano Sofian. Then, Lisa Wijayani, Program Manager of Green Economy from ISR, will present the Indonesia country profile of the Climate Transparency Report and officially launch it. After that, we will begin the panel discussion moderated by Intan Oktora. That's it for the rundown. And without further ado, let's hear the remarks from Mr. Fabi Tumiwa. Mr. Fabi, the platform is yours.
Thank you, Gaby, and very good morning to all of you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. His Excellency Mahendra Siregar, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, and in this occasions represented by Mr. Agustaviano Sofian, Director for Development, Economic and Environmental Affairs. Thank you, Pak Agustaviano, for your time. It's been a pleasure to see you here, although it's in this platform. And ladies and gentlemen, all participants of this Climate Transparency Report 2020 launch and virtual discussion. Green recovery for a just and net zero emission economy, the time to act is now. And as we know, the world is now fighting against the pandemic of COVID-19. Health emergency and economic crisis are now occupying all countries globally, including the G20 countries that represent many developing and developed nations across the continents. This pandemic came precisely when all nations were battling over climate change and its destruction toward nature, economy, and social community life. We are all not ready to face this pandemic, and so does the climate change catastrophe that may occur in the future if we do not start to take decisive action now. Global temperature rise, shifting of season, reduced agricultural yields, and declining water supply are the determinants of climate change which interlink with health quality. The G20, that responsible for 85% of global emission, has been encouraged to strengthen its climate towards achieving target in Paris Agreement in the country national determined contribution. However, some countries have indicated that they will not only do so in 2021 ahead of the COP26. And the economic downturn, as indicated by the decrease of GDP, bring devastating effects on many levels, as well as exert exacerbating poverty, inequality, and unemployment that requires strong attention. Indonesia has also proclaimed to retain its climate target in the new submitted NDC due to the adverse impact of COVID-19 outbreak and the economic crisis. Although we understand that the NDC target is not sufficient to achieve the 29% climate target, and in particular a 1.5 degrees as expected by the Paris Agreement. And the country has entered the economic recession by experiencing the economic contraction and at the 2 consecutive quarters of 2020, as our GDP declined by minus 5.3% and by 3.5% at the second and the third quarters respectively. The decline of Indonesia GDP is particularly affected by the downward demand of household consumption, which account for almost half of the economy, with an average share of 58% from 1990 to 2020. As the result, the government have provided stimulus package for micro, small, and medium enterprise, as well as social assistance for the poor to rebuild the economy. In the time of uncertainty, the G20, including Indonesia, can harness opportunities of the green recovery that do not only generate jobs and income, but also has a strong well-being goals toward building a more resilient and sustainable future. According to OECD, the stimulus package should be provided also to combat climate change and to transform to the low carbon economy that will achieve the goal of people, planet, and prosperity. Indonesia has an opportunity to align its COVID-19 economic response with the long-term strategy for decarbonization. Instead, supporting fossil fuel industry, the economic stimulus package, if appropriately directed, can provide unprecedented fund to kickstart an energy transition and decarbonize the economy. Additionally, green recovery underscore a good opportunity for the global nation to generate jobs that comply with the green initiative and economic growth, namely green jobs. Green sector provide the imminent opportunity for job creation. For example, renewable energy and solar PV compared to the energy from the fossil fuel. According to the International and Renewable Energy Agency, or IRENA, renewable could employ more than 40 million people by 2050, and total energy sector employment could reach 100 million by 2050 from renewable energy deployment globally. The International Energy Agency also projects that up to 2.5 million new jobs per year could be generated by strengthening the energy efficiency. Independent analysis from climate analytics suggests that if Indonesia were to increase renewable, it could create over 290,000 additional direct jobs in the next 10 years. And Indonesia requires an inclusive strategy for a just transition away from coal that can assist the economic recovery from the impact of COVID-19 and which could, for example, create sustainable job opportunities. The utilization of green recovery to advance climate action and to generate more job opportunities are also suggested by the Climate Transparency Report in 2020. Well, the Climate Transparency Report was named Brown to Green Report until last year, and this year we changed the name to the Climate Transparency. And the Climate Transparency is a global partnership of experts in the G20 countries and have annually conducted assessment of the G20 action toward climate change, adaptation, mitigation, and finance mobilization to support climate action. This report also provides an analysis of COVID-19 responses, stimulus measures, and recommendation for greener recovery. Today in this webinar, we are going to launch the Climate Transparency Report 2020 and Indonesia Country Profile. We hope that the report will dispense beneficial insight for improving policy and strategy to advance economic recovery with a strong foundation on climate action. And the launch of the Climate Transparency Report soon will be followed by a virtual discussion with many experts and practitioners in the public and private entity who are dedicated with the green economic recovery, environmental sustainability, as well as clean energy deployment. Discussion in the morning aims to exchange view on Indonesia green economic strategy, how well is the current implementation, including the future projection, as well as what opportunities that can be potentially be strengthened in a cooperation with relevant stakeholders. The afternoon session will deliver insight particularly for young generation to understand the pertinent role of the green recovery and its interconnection with the job creation, as well as lesson learned on how to meet the green jobs demand and grasp the opportunity that lay under the green jobs initiative. Last but not least, we thank Bapak Agustaviano Sofian, my dear friend, Director for Development, Economic and Environmental Affairs, Minister of Foreign Affairs, who is kindly spare his time, and he's very busy, I know, to deliver a keynote speech today. We hope that the insight, lesson learned, and recommendation from the discussion can be valuable to nourish deepen understanding and policy improvement on the climate action, as well as economic acceleration to address or to deal with this COVID pandemic. Thank you and enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Mr. Fabi, for the opening speech. Before we continue, for those who joined later, I would like to remind you once again that we provide interpreter services in Zoom. Now let's move on to the keynote speech from Mr. Agustaviano Sofian. Mr. Agustaviano, I will hand over the platform to you.
Thank you. Thank you, MC, moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to all of you. Let me begin to just say my good friend, Pak Fabi Tumia, and to all the colleagues and friends I see around the room in this webinar, ladies and gentlemen, and also to dear all participants. First of all, I would like to extend my appreciation to IESR for this opportunity for me to address this important virtual launching of the Climate Transparency Report 2020, known as the Brown to Green Report. Fabi gave a very nice opening remarks and explained to us what this report also entails. Secondly, on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, allow me to convey our congratulations on the research conducted by IESR and climate transparency, the active engagement of civil society organizations and think tanks is crucial to the success of our diplomacy in G20 as well as any multilateral forums. I should also like to convey best wishes from Vice Minister Bapak Mahendra Siregar, who unfortunately is unable to be with us today due to his very busy schedule. So he has asked me to represent him in this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends, at the outset, allow me to reiterate the position of the government that Indonesia's economic and social recovery must be squarely placed within the framework of Sustainable Development Goals, known as Agenda 2030, with an emphasis that no one must be left behind. It is also placed within the Low Carbon Development Initiative, one of the first development planning strategies in the world that has been aligned with the low carbon pathway. If we see in the 5 years development planning, or RPGM, for 2020-2024, it is clearly stated how SDGs is mainstream in this development plan. At the last G20 summit under Saudi presidency, President Joko Widodo emphasized that in the post-pandemic era, Indonesia aspires to build an economy that is more inclusive, sustainable, and resilient. The president also stressed that Indonesia will undertake a big transformation, committing itself to a more green and sustainable economy. We have noted the findings of the 2020 Climate Transparency Report on Indonesia, but I will not comment any specific items. However, allow me to highlight certain green growth policies that Indonesia has pursued with even more rigor as part of the national recovery from the pandemic. On climate policy, Indonesia maintains the commitment under the first nationally determined contribution to reduce greenhouse gas emission by 29% using our domestic resources, and up to 41% with national support against the business as usual scenario in 2030. We have recently updated our NDC with a clear elaboration of sector-specific actions and a more thorough strategy on adaptation. Under the National Economic Recovery Program, the efforts not only focuses on economic and health aspects, but also take into account climate resilience to deal with increasing occurrences on climate change-related disasters and the need for community-based recovery. In particular, this program will also include mangrove and coral reef conservation and rehabilitation programs. The upcoming national strategy projects will also contribute to our NDC, such as the development of public transportation, waste-to-energy technology development, and urban sanitation. In the forestry sector, which is expected to contribute 17.2% out of the 29% target, we have taken several corrective measures to reduce emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, and enhance carbon stocks through forest and land rehabilitation. President Joko Widodo has also issued a presidential decree to permanently freeze the issuance of new licenses for lodging and peatland utilization since 2019. After the periodic reviews and evaluation of the 2-year moratorium policies, this policy affected the management of primary forests and peatland of no less than 66.3 million hectares. Due to these measures, Indonesia's annual deforestation recorded over 3.5 million hectares for a period from 1996 to 2000 has sharply declined to 0.44 million hectares recently, and hopefully will be further reduced in the coming years. And this has also been published in the World State of the World Forests in their publication. The international community has recognized our achievement in reducing deforestation. However, we do still have a lot of work to do. The Green Climate Fund has recently approved the REDD Plus result-based payment worth of $103.78 million for reduced emission for a period of 2014 to 2016. In other result-based payments will come from Forest Carbon Partnership Facility under the World Bank, up to $120 million, as well as Biocarbon Fund worth of $70 million. In the energy sector, The primary greenhouse gas emission reduction comes from renewable energy, as the energy sector is expected to contribute 11% out of the 29 target. We want to reiterate our commitment to expand renewable energy utilization, such as biofuel, geothermal, and microhydro. The current preparation of a draft law on renewable energy could give certainly a near future investment and renewable energy development. I know my good friend Fabi has been working very hard in trying to continue to promote renewable energy, and that's why I support, certainly the Minister of Foreign Affairs supports the activities being done here in this webinar by ISSR, and certainly that we hope that your efforts will continue to become benefit for Indonesia. The government of Indonesia is also currently preparing a new presidential decree on renewable energy pricing to adopt feed-in tariff, simplify procurement, enhance bankability, and in general, create a more conducive investment environment. We are promoting energy efficiency by applying better standards and technology in commercial buildings and industries, and encourage more efficient equipment. Adoption of ISO 5001 shows significant impacts in reducing energy consumption, energy costs, and carbon emissions. In 2019, 148 companies have implemented energy conservation management programs with emission reductions of 2.4 million tons carbon dioxide equivalent. Another policy I would like to highlight is that Indonesia is among few countries that will integrate oceans into our NDC, particularly on oceans-based adaptation efforts. As the largest archipelagic country in the world, we see the urgency of integrating oceans climate nexus into UNFCCC work. As you probably know that during the last COP25 UNFCCC in Madrid, Indonesia, with a number of group of countries, we continue to promote the nexus of oceans and climate, and like to say that today and tomorrow there is a dialogue on this issue on climate and oceans nexus that was mandated from the COP UNFCCC. We have also pursued this vision along with range of multilateral processes, including under the high-level panel for sustainable oceans economy. And I would also like to say that today, on the 3rd of December, actually right now, the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fishery is, and also with 14 other countries that belongs to the ocean panel, is launching a transformation document to achieving sustainable oceans economy, a visionary for protection, productivity, and prosperity. I should also like to mention that other processes that Indonesia is also moving ahead with this ocean climate nexus is through the Archipelagic and Island States Forum, as well as other forums introduced in ASEAN. Dear colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen, in order to fulfilling the vision of Indonesia for a green growth recovery, a multi-stakeholders approach will play a crucial role. Domestically, we must work hand in hand between government, parliament, civil society, academia, and also the media to push recovery and return to our country back to path of growth and to become more stronger, inclusive, and resilient. Comparatively, our economic contraction is among the lowest among G20 countries, but we cannot discount the heavy social costs of this pandemic, such as increased unemployment, as well as 60% of our micro, small, medium enterprises being negatively impacted. So the government is working very hard in trying to support the micro, small, medium enterprises, how they can survive in this pandemic crisis. A lot of stimulus package is also being supported for them. We must also work together to support this recovery. From the perspective of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, this includes vibrant multi-stakeholder approach in international efforts to support our national recovery. We will face a busy calendar year ahead in our diplomacy and international activities. As Fabi may probably know that Indonesia's presidency for G20 has been speeded up from before 2023, now becomes 2022. So Indonesia's presidency of G20 will be in 2022, and in 2021, under Italy's presidency, we are also now the troika of G20, since we are currently the future presidency, so we belong to the troika. And beside that, we are Indonesia in 2020, starting 2021. We are also a member of the ECOSOC, or the UN Economic and Social Council, from 2021 to 2022. And then in 2023, Indonesia will also chair the ASEAN chairmanship. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a full activities in the coming years for Indonesia. The underlying imperative of all these strategic positions will be to create the regular, regional, and global conditions that will support our national, social, and economic recovery. We will heed the call of the President Joko Widodo to build an inclusive, sustainable, and resilient regional and global order. While the government will be primary driver, we will need the participation of civil society, such as IESR. And that's why I'm very grateful to Mr. Fabi for inviting the Minister of Foreign Affairs and to participate in this webinar. And this effort is to catalyze actions and collaborations at the grassroots and people-to-people level. We look to the organization to continue your research and lend informed ideas to our policy making. In closing my remark, I wish to thank for your endeavors, especially to IESR and the Climate Transparency. And we congratulate you on your launch of the Climate Transparency Report. As we tread on a very busy international schedule ahead, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs looks forward to your concrete contribution to our engagement in not only G20, but other multilateral forums as well. Thank you very much for your attention and have a very good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Agustafiano, for delivering the keynote speech. We are now moving to the next segment, which is the presentation of Climate Transparency Report by Lisa Wijayani, Program Manager of Green Economy at ISR. Ms. Lisa, please take over the platform.
Thank you, Gaby. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for watching our event virtually from wherever you are now. So before we jump into the main explanation of the report, please allow me to explain about the climate transparency. So climate transparency is global partnership of experts from research organizations and NGOs in the majority of G20 countries. And in strengthening the transparency framework of global adaptation and mitigation, the Climate Transparency produces an annual climate transparency report that was previously called Brown to Green Report. In this year, the Climate Transparency Report projects the emission assessment and also the G20 climate adaptation projection for the current year, as well as the climate mitigation, financial mobilization to support the climate actions. So in this Climate Transparency Report 2020, there are 100 indicators of climate mitigation, finance, and the vulnerability of climate crisis pertaining to the social, economic, and environmental life. So as I mentioned, this report consisting of this emission projection and the specialty of this year report that we also include analysis of COVID-19 responses, stimulus measures, and recommendation for a greener recovery. This year report also summarizes the information into a summary infographics that capturing the most important data, insights, and opportunities to increase the G20 climate action. As the response of the COVID-19 pandemic, we know that the pandemic has impacted so many catastrophes, especially for our health system and also the economic and social life. But this is the positive things that happen because of the pandemic, that the global CO2 emission has reduced. It has reached its peak in April 2020 by 17%, and it was lower than in 2019. The energy-related CO2 emissions are also projected to drop by around 7.5%. However, they in the other G20 countries, aside from Indonesia, the CO2 emissions are continue to rise. So it shows that actually this reduction appears to be temporary. It's just because of the implementation of social distancing measures and also the restriction of mobility due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, this one. So in terms of energy, the emission is also reduced, as well as the Indonesia's GDP. As you may see here in the slide, that the Indonesia's GDP, as well as GDP in other countries, has declined. In Indonesia, the GDP has declined for 3.5% in the third quarter. And the emission also reduced by almost 6%. Next. And on the renewable energy, the share of renewable energies in power generation is projected to increase in all G20 countries in 2020. This is also one of the good things. I may say that beyond the crisis, actually there are opportunities that we can actually take into consideration to deploy more in the future. So the renewable energy shares is increased in the past. In 2019, only 18 G20 countries foreseen the increases of renewable energy. But at the moment, in all G20 countries, the share of renewable energy has increased. There are several factors that may have caused this change. Including renewables are being cheaper and also the reduction of peak demand, which is typically met with gas. Next. So G20 recovery packages has been implemented in all G20 countries. There are many packages that offered by the government. For example, increasing funding for clean energy and strengthening financial mechanism for green bonds for sustainable infrastructure. In Indonesia, the government has focused on providing stimulus on social protection, as well as to SMEs or small and medium enterprises to generate more jobs and also to the state-owned enterprises. Moreover, subsidies to state-owned power company or PLN are also provided to oil and gas company as well as Pertamina. And positive measures have also been announced, for example, subsidies for biodiesel for consumption, tax reduction for various renewable energy projections, and a revoked plan for regulation relaxation towards land use and forestry. Next. So to overcome the problems of the economic crisis, and we are also now trying to resolve the health emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The green recovery is being suggested in this report. There are 5 principles. The first one is to invest in sustainable physical infrastructure. Second one is to invest in nature-based solutions and the environment. The third one is to invest in education, research, and development. The fourth one is to introduce conditionality for greener bailouts. And the last one is to reinforce policy regulations and incentives for a sustainable future. So the investment in education, research, and development is actually very good to help the country to generate more jobs as more and more young generation can escalate their skills to align with the green jobs initiatives. Next. And green recovery has offered so many co-benefits. There are at least 5 co-benefits have been identified in this report. The first one, that the green recovery can improve public health and well-being. It can also generate jobs and local economic value creation. It can enhance biodiversity and the environment. And it also provides financial security and fiscal benefits. And also the last one is to enhance energy access and security. From this 5 green recovery, we can see that actually this initiative is really helpful to not only addressing the problem of the health issues in Indonesia and in other G20 countries at the moment, but also to help to resolving the economic crisis, as we know that many countries are now having the economic recession, and the longer term impact, we may see the good influence to the environment and also to the social life of the people. Next. This is the summary of G20 climate action. I will not explain in detail at the moment because you may see and read in detail this information in our report. But just a little bit information. This report identified the 3 big issues on climate adaptation, climate mitigation, and finance mobilization. And the first row, this is the effort that the G20 countries must or should be doing in order to align the ambition to the Paris Agreement. The second row is the key opportunities that can be drawn. So for each or all G20 countries, they may pick one of these key opportunities in order to implement green recovery and to resolve the economic, social, and health issues that we have, and also environmental issues, of course, that we have now at the moment. The yellow highlight will just pointing out that the key opportunities under the climate adaptation is that actually G20 countries can increase disaster preparedness to prevent the more severe negative impacts to the people due to the disasters. and also on the climate mitigation, we can actually enhance more efficiency policies across industries, especially for Indonesia, that industry is one of the biggest sector that generate income, aside from the SMEs also, that will generate more jobs. And on finance mobilization, the key opportunities that will be able to consider, for example, that G20 countries may phasing out fossil fuels by subsidies in 2025. So as we are now standing in 2020, almost to the 2021, we can try to put more efforts to going towards the phasing out fossil fuels that are now being, for example, in Indonesia is one of the energy sources that we use in our energy sector. Next. So this is the NDC updates to enhance climate targets. On the left side, the report has described and listed down the how each G20 country try to meet the Paris climate agreement. And as you may see that only India that actually doing quite good in terms of trying to meet the 2 degrees Celsius target. But the rest of the G20 countries are still putting insufficient efforts and even highly insufficient efforts towards meeting the Paris Agreement. For Indonesia, unfortunately, our targets on NDC is highly insufficient. With the target to reduce 26% of its greenhouse gas emission and by the 2020 and 29% by the 2030, we actually have to do more efforts and have to increase our ambition in order to align with the Paris Agreement. Next, please. And this is the Indonesia progress on climate actions. So previously, we know that Indonesia's target on NDC is still highly insufficient. And as you may see here in this slide, that the greenhouse gas emission in Indonesia, even though it's below the G20 average, but the emission is also still there. In 5-year trend from 2012 to 2013, our emission has increased about 7.5%. And this shows us that Indonesia is not on track for a 1.5 degrees Celsius world. We still have to do more in order to reduce its emission to below 662 MTCO. And also, we have to try to put more efforts, especially to be able to reach the targets to stay well below 1.5 degrees Celsius. And from the target that has been identified before, the target of Indonesia's NDCs and the current implementation can only bring Indonesia to reach the emissions reduction to around 1,000 MTCO. So we still have to do more. We still have to take more actions, not just for the government, but also all stakeholders, the young people, that we have to work together in order to reach the climate target. Next, please. And this is the energy-related emission by sector. Energy in Indonesia still generates CO2 emissions. Mostly it is from industrial sector by 37%. And the second and third one is contributed by transport and power sector. This area, industry, transport, and power, actually gives rooms for improvement on how we can improve our policy, our programs, our activities in order to reduce emissions from energy sector, especially from these three sectors. Next, please. And on the left side is the emission intensity of the power sector. So emission intensity in Indonesia for the last 5 years, from 2014 until 2019, is still not good in compared to the G20 average. So if you, as you may see in the G20 average, the emission was only 449 GCO2, but Indonesia actually generate 804. In terms of percentage, also Indonesia increased 10.1% of the emissions from this power sector. And on the transport emission on the right side, though it's not as high as the other countries, and in the G20 average, the emission is only is 5.5% on average, but Indonesia actually generate 1.6% emission. However, this number shows us that we still, again, to do something in order to achieve net zero economy without emission from transport, especially. So if the pandemic has gone and all people will be actively working and commuting, so we can expect that the emission from transport is actually will be higher than this number. Next, please. Yes, and we come to the last part of this presentation. There are many good developments as well as the I may say that some policy that needs to be improved. But on the good development is that the Indonesia government, especially the energy and mineral resources, have regulated the regulation number 4/2020 on how to simplify renewable power generation regulation. This regulation will be able to enhance the competitiveness of renewable electricity with fossil fuel power sources. The second regulation that we think is really important to support the achievement towards meeting the NDC's target is the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources that is currently drafting a prudential regulation to regulate renewable energy prices and incentives, including a feed-in tariff for renewable energy plants under 5 megawatts, which is this quite small megawatt, the 5 megawatt mostly are deployed by the SMEs. So if we go back to the idea of green recovery that will generate jobs, so with this regulation, we can enhance more green jobs, especially from the SMEs. However, Indonesia is still one of very few countries with coal power plant construction in 2020. In this report, we try to give feedback or recommendation that Indonesia can actually meet the target of NDC, reducing emission, meeting the net zero economy by phasing out fossil fuels. But we know that we cannot do it just like the blink of an eye. At least we try to propose that if possible, that the government and all relevant stakeholders should work together towards meeting the phasing out or of fossil fuels by the 2030. And on the key opportunities for enhancing climate ambition, we have identified 3 opportunities. The first one, that it will increase renewable energy targets. So Indonesia's energy generation mix was 88% fossil fuels in 2019. However, we can possibly reach the target to at least meeting or increase the renewable energy at least by 50% in 2030. On the decarbonizing transport, so transport emission, as I mentioned before, even though it's not as high as the other G20 countries, but there are rooms for us to reduce emission from transport. So the decarbonizing transport is important, and the transport emission will be able to reduce by 53% in 2030 if we try or if we already put some actions towards these initiatives. And finally, regulate carbon trading. So other countries, especially developed countries, have started to conduct this idea, and we are happy to know that Indonesia government have started to make it happen in Indonesia. So we hope by the drafting of the prudential regulation on carbon trading, it will give opportunity to support progress towards meeting NDC targets. Next, I think that was the last slide from us. So without further ado, I will announce that Climate Transparency Report 2020 is now officially launched.
Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Lisa. We will now move on to the panel discussion session, which will be moderated by Intan Oktora. Ms. Intan, the platform is yours.
Thank you, Gaby. Thank you, Gaby. Hello, good morning. How are you guys here? It's an honor for me to be here today. And I'm super excited for another next 2 hours. I'm excited to hear and learn from the amazing 5 speakers, ranging from government, NGOs, development organization, and private sectors. But before I introduce all the panelists, let me share one of the funny story that related to this event. As usual, every Sunday morning, I spend my time at the cafe near my house. While I was sipping my tea and at my breakfast, I was struck by a lady with the bag. That was not the luxury branded bag, but I was struck by the words printed in that bag. It was saying, there is no more difficult transition than Sunday to Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, Bapak dan Ibu, we are all aware that the transition needs courage and faith, especially the transition to low carbon economy. This morning, we will learn from the remarkable 5 panelists. Today, we are honored to have Dr. Nur Saifuddin, policy analyst at the Center of Climate Change Financing and Multilateral Policy, Ministry of Finance. Selamat pagi, good afternoon, Ibu Kuki Suyahmun, co-founder Indonesia Research Institute for Decarbonation and former assistant to the President's Special Envoy for Climate Change. Selamat pagi, selamat datang Ibu Desi Yuliana, Green Investment Specialist Global Green Growth Institute, Triple GI, and very good morning to Dr. Christina Martinez, the Senior Specialist on Environment and Decent Work at the ILO Regional Office for Asia Pacific in Bangkok. But last not but least, we also honor to welcome Ibu Lucia Karina. Ibu Karina, she's a Public Affairs, Communications, and Sustainable Director, Coca-Cola Amatil Indonesia. Without further ado, I would like to invite Ibu Kuki Suyahmun as the first speaker. She's a co-founder of Indonesia Research Institute for Decarbonation. She earned her master's degree from Environmental Engineering and Sustainable Infrastructure, Royal Institute of Technology, Stockholm. She will present the green recovery for accelerating Indonesia's low carbon transition. Please join me to welcome and give a big round of applause for our first speaker, Ibu Kuki Suyahmun. Ibu Kuki, the platform is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I hope that you can hear me clearly. Is it okay? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'll share my presentation, I think. But for that, I will need to switch off my video camera just to be sure that I will not lose the connection, because since it's, how do you call it? Raining since early morning. I think it's not even early morning. It's since, what time is it? 3 a.m. or something like that. Then the connection is not that good at my place. So hopefully there is no problem with it. But anyway, I will start my sharing at least my views on this issue. Can you see my slide already?
Yes, Ibu.
Okay, thank you. So the organizer asked me to share my view on green recovery for accelerating Indonesia's low carbon transition. And I think this is a very interesting issues and also quite challenging. And I'm sure that other speakers will explore more deeper on the issue from different perspectives. So what I will share here is more, if I can say, more overview of the issue and how we can link it with the Indonesia low carbon transition. So first, I would like to, ask all of us to see what happened with Indonesia's climate situation during the COVID-19 pandemic. As already mentioned from the very beginning by Pak Febi, Pak Agustaviano, as well as Mbak Lisa, as the last speaker before this session, the emission reduction has been, how do you call it? We get like greater emission reduction during the first semester of this year, and it's basically because of this PSBB, yeah, the limiting of social, how do you call it? The PSBB, because we are not going, we didn't do the lockdown, but we limit our activities. So the first semester is basically we got a quite significant emission reduction. But as other countries also experiencing, I think, the emission reduction is basically going to the normal pathway. So it's just kind of a drop in the emission. It is below what is expected and what is projected, but the pathway is still the same. So the big question is whether we can, in a way, flatten the pathway, make it the slope smaller. rather than having like a steep slope in the future. But what happened is, in fact, we have more impacts of climate change, especially due to the extreme weather events, as we already experiencing. I think even from the first day of this year, right? We get this very heavy rain, flooding, and also it's during the last month, I think, more and more heavy rain with strong winds happen in all over Indonesia. And this situation is even worsened by the COVID pandemic itself. Because as we know, the impact will be experiencing by population depending on their resiliency, and the resiliency of the people is getting lower with the COVID-19 pandemic. So are we ready to face a global shock such as the COVID-19 pandemic, sudden change, like what happened as the impact of the COVID pandemic, and also the slow onset? Because if we are talking about climate change, then I myself would prefer it not as a global shock, because the process has been going on for many years. It's not sudden change, even though maybe the change at a certain point there will be like a significant change, but the change has happened for the last 20 years at least, right? So are we ready? Because in fact, if we delaying our actions, then it will cost more, right? This is, we experienced this also with this COVID-19 issues. And also what happened also if we didn't act timely, then the inequality can be exacerbated, right? Because those that has more resources, strong, resilient, will be survive, if I can say. And then those with limited resources, with less resiliency, they will be the one that hit the hardest, right? And as those issues, both pandemic as well as climate change, are global problems, then we're going to require global concerted collaborations and efforts. No one can solve this problem by itself. No one country can do it alone as well, and no one individual can do it and address the issue by him or herself. So what happened in Indonesia, if we are talking about COVID, and I think as already requested by the organizer, one of the issue will be green recovery. So what happened in Indonesia? We already, or the government already issued this Pemulihan Ekonomi Nasional, or National Economic Recovery. And for the year 2020, there are almost 700 trillion rupiah has been reallocated from different sectors within the GDP to basically support the healthcare, the social protection program, and then to give business incentives, to support micro and small and medium enterprises, to support the corporate, and also to support sectoral as well as regional government to cope with the impact of pandemic itself. As per early November 2020, the disbursement achieved around 53%, and there are still elements, or there are still out of those support. For example, the corporate financing has not been dispersed because it's still in the process of finalization. And I just read yesterday from the coordinating Minister of Economic Affairs that For the year 2021, there is an allocation of more than 350 trillion to support the continuation of this PAN. So as we know, then for this year and next year, the focus of the PAN will be on Indonesia Aman, or Safety Indonesia, if I can say, and Indonesia Sehat, or Healthy Indonesia. So it is, I can relate to this, because the first thing is to address the urgent issue and the emergency issues, which is the safety of the population and also the health of the population. And definitely it will have a lot to do with the economy, right? But then for the 2022 to 2024, because this is part of our RPJMN, the Midterm National Development Plan, then there will be three, how do you call it, topics, if I can say, or three target maybe for PAN. The first one is Indonesia Berdaya, or Empowered Indonesia. The second one will be Indonesia Tumbuh, or Growing Indonesia. And then the third one will be Beli Produk Indonesia, or Buying Indonesian Products. From what I see here, I think we have, I mean, like the 2020, 2021 might be difficult to change, like the allocation of the funding, etc., because of the focus, which is Indonesia Aman and Indonesia Sehat. But for the 2022 to 2024, this will have a lot to do with achievement of RPJM and target. Then we need to make sure that the PAN should be greener, right? And how can we make it greener? Basically, we can do that through Build Back Better with low carbon development. So if we are talking about Build Back Better, then we should build fairer so that we can close the inequality, and also to reduce poverty. The second one, we should build stronger. So through the low carbon development, we can have a stronger economy. We can have more work opportunities, and also we can increase the livelihood of the people. And then the third one will be build safer, especially because through low carbon development, then we will have this co-benefit in the health sectors, like less air pollution, for example, and other relevant issues with health. And the fourth one, which is also, or I should say, the same importance, will be build cleaner. So with low carbon development, then we can promote and support economic development at the national or national-wide, I should say. And what is it, if we are talking about low carbon development, then what can we do, right? So if we are talking about low carbon development, then it would be good to have green and inclusive fiscal stimulus for low carbon and sustainable businesses. And then we need to also have the role of both public and private funding. So we cannot just rely on the government or public funding to support low carbon development and Build Back Better. We need to also include climate consideration, both the opportunities of climate actions, as well as the threat or the impact of climate change into our financial system, also into the public policies and infrastructure development. And the last one, which is also important, is to have a transition from the business as usual, which mostly high carbon, to more sustainable and low carbon development. And if we do that, then we can have like a greener PAN, or greener economic recovery, because the long-term, what we need there is to have a long-term plan to adjust or recalibrate our development approach, right? So the first, to support inclusive, just, and resilient transition toward low carbon economy. Also to increase renewable energy share, and then to support clean, healthy, and sustainable mobility, to support low carbon infrastructure and building transformation, to support low carbon industrial sector, and also to support investment in nature-based solution. I think in a way, the points that I raised here have been mentioned also by previous speakers, but this is also this build back better with low carbon development. I think currently is being promoted also by Bappenas. So this is where we as the people, if I can say, can support the government in and make sure with our different role in different position, including as the, if I can say, as a watchdog. We also need to make sure that the next PEN, starting from 2022, will become a greener one, because this is our opportunity. And I think, as Pak Agus Taviono mentioned also in the beginning, that Indonesia will be the presidency of G20 in 2022, that it is indeed the right time for us to have greener and to make sure that Indonesia will have greener plan for 2022 onward for this recovery to the COVID-19 pandemic. I'll just stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ibu. That was a great presentation. We can learn from the importance of undertaking green recovery strategy towards supporting climate ambitions, energy transitions, and economic recovery. I love the build fairer, build stronger, build safer, and build cleaner. To all audience, please do, if you have burning questions, please chat in the chat box. Now I would like to invite our second speaker, the only man in this room, because all the speakers are women, Dr. Nur Saifuddin from Fiscal Policy, Ministry of Finance. He earned doctorate degree in economics from University of Western Australia. His hobbies are music and cycling. And this morning, he will present the financing stimulus for a green economic recovery. Please join me to welcome Dr. Nur Saifuddin. Pak Nur, now is your turn.
Thank you for this very prestigious occasion for me to share my understanding on the climate finance in Indonesia, mostly on how we may deal with this pandemic, how we already have done, and what we are preparing today to be more greener in the future, based on the fiscal perspective. Due to we are, as the Ministry of Finance, we are dealing with the fiscal authority in this country. Next. Yeah. Okay. We are today, we have, based on our President's commitment to the UNFCCC, that Indonesia committed to achieve our nationally determined contribution by 29% in 2030 by our own capacity, and up to 41% with the support from the international. So then we need to see this as our commitment together, that each of the authority in the Indonesia should support this target. And from the fiscal authorities, then we are thinking on how the public finance may support this target, the achievement of this target. And then next we can see on how the fiscal authority can support the commitment. So from the fiscal perspective, we have three arm length that we are working at. The first is on the revenue side. It's regarding with the taxation, tax incentives, etc. And then from the spending, we have the land ministry's allocation, budget allocation, and we also have kind of incentives and direct allocation, or we may name it as the subsidies. At the other hand, we also have the fiscal transfer, where the sum of funds from the government are dedicated to support the regional government to support their development priorities. And the last, on the other side, we also dealing with the financing ones. The government needs support due to some gap in financing. And so far, the fiscal policies in the revenue side, we have some particular incentives today that the government already provide the tax holiday for pioneering industry. In this regard, is dedicated for the renewable energy investor, where the tax holiday may be collected by this investor free of their income tax, their corporate income tax for about 5 to 20 years, following their amount of investment in the sector. And then there is another facilities or incentives that government already provided, name it the tax allowance, where for renewable energy sectors, the government provided some tax exemption, mostly the corporate income tax as well, for the particular sectors and particular area of Indonesia. And the other facilities is already in place as well. We name it as the VAT and exemption on import duty for geothermal development activities. And on the other hand, the government already stipulated what is so-called as the government regulation on the luxury good tax on electric vehicle, where we provide some supporting initiative with this regard on the development of electric vehicle in Indonesia. And then this is the one side of the fiscal policies that already is. And then on the second side, on the spending side, we have what the so-called as the climate mitigation and adaptation spending in the line ministries. And we may collect the data by conducting what the so-called as the climate budget taking. This is a mechanism in our national planning and budgeting system to track and identify climate change related output and budget in central government. And we also have what the fiscal transfer, particularly in the regional incentive funds, or DID, dana incentive daerah. One of the performance category that related to environment and climate change is the waste management performance category. And on the other side, on the below line, on the financing side, there are some initiatives related business financing activities including Sukuk. That's Indonesia is one of the initiator in issue the Green Sukuk globally. This is an instrument to finance climate change actions and also achieve in this target based on Sharia principle. The climate budget taking, as I already mentioned previously, is used as the reference to collect the underlying assets for the issuance of Green Sukuk. On the other financing mechanism that we have today is that the Minister of Finance is the nationally designated authority for the Green Climate Funds, which is allow us to tap the national front, the fund from the UNFCCC. And we also provide some special vehicle to also allow Minister of Finance to support the achievement of some environmental target, which we established the PPLH, the Environmental Fund Agency, where aims to support the conservation and environmental management, biodiversity management, as well as addressing the impact of climate change. Thus, we also have the state-owned in the PT SMI, PT Sarana Multi Infrastructure, where last year already established a new fund named the SDG Indonesia One, which is our blended finance platform to facilitate the philanthropic involvement, international donor agencies, allocation, green investor, commercial banks, particularly to support the achievement of the SDGs in Indonesia. And from the central government spending on climate change, we already have some figure that based on the data, and we may compare it with the second biennial update report, where Indonesia needs at about 250 billion US dollars to achieve our NDC by 2030, or it's about 266.2 trillion rupiah every year. Then over the past 5 years, according to our climate budget taking data, the average climate spending on the public side was about 90 trillion rupiah per year, or it's allocated about 3.9% of our state budget every year. I think this amount is quite interesting if we may compare it with our other mandatory spending, like for example, for the education, it's about 20%, and health sector for about 5%. The state budget, the public finding, prove that the state budget already fund about 34% of the total climate financing needs based on the PUR, as already mentioned before, to achieve the NDC target in 2030. Thus, we need another innovative financing to enable us to achieve that target in the future. And what kind of other initiatives the government endeavor these days? Today, the government of Indonesia is currently exercising and discussing on the possibility of fiscal instrument through some measures, including studies and regulatory frameworks formulation. This includes the possibility of the implementation of the carbon pricing in Indonesia, where today we are quite intense in this discussion. The other discussion is on the possibility of the implementation of excise on plastic bag, where it is expected to also address the environmental issues, and the possibility of the implementation of the purchasing price for the renewable energy. And how the government support and encourage the local government to also include in the environmental activities. We, under the fiscal transfer initiative, we have at least 3 kinds of instrument that we have today. The first is on the for profit sharing fund, where there are 2 of types that we can allocate for that. It is allocated by 2020 that for the forestry sectors from this profit sharing fund, we already provide 1.56 trillion rupiah. And for the geothermal, we already provide allocate 1.07 trillion rupiah. The other fiscal transfer instrument is the special allocation fund. This including for an initiative like for the TAK physics, as for agriculture and irrigation, environment and forestry, marine and fisheries development, which is already allocated for about 3 trillion rupiah this year. And for the waste management service fund, which is under the non-physical special allocation fund, it's about 53 billion rupiah. And for the providing the incentive for the regional government, we provide 83 billion rupiah for the waste management. It is dedicated for 14 local government or in the district level, yeah, that meet requirement to receive the incentive.
Pak Nur, 2 menit lagi, Pak.
Yes.
2 more minutes.
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, 2 minutes. Okay, 2 more minutes. I almost done with my presentation, and then we may see from the mapping on how the climate finance sources in Indonesia. We may look at from the domestic side, which is already presented, and from the international side that is available in globally today. And also we have the private finance that is. We need to encourage the private finance to also involve in the climate finance in Indonesia. So from that perspective, I have some takeaways. The first is that the government of Indonesia, amidst the pandemic, we quite successful in issuing the third global green sukuk in June 2020, where we collect about 2.75 billion US dollar from 3 global green sukuk from 2018 to 2020. And currently, we are under the discussion to also issue the SDG bond and other thematic bond. And we have approval from the GCF for supporting the RED Plus payment proposal for about 103 US dollar million. And also we are on the table for discussion for other initiative and policy, including the carbon pricing, the purchasing price for the renewable energy, and we are in the process of providing what the so-called as the climate change fiscal framework, where we may have to set the fiscal policy strategy to meet NDC, SDG, as well as low carbon development initiative. That's all from me, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Pak Nur. That was a very impressive presentation from you. I gained lots of information from your presentation, and I'm sure all the audience here learn on the key opportunities and challenges on green stimulus for economic recovery in Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, Bapak dan Ibu, you may ask your question in the chat box before I move to our third speakers. I'm also happy to welcome our third speaker from the NGO side. Please join me to welcome Ibu Desi Yuliana, Green Investment Specialist, Global Green Growth Institute, GGI. Ibu Desi earned her master degrees in Business and Information Technology from the University of Melbourne, Australia. She will present today the presentations Achieving Green Growth Post-COVID-19. Please join me and to give a big round of applause to Ibu Desi Yuliana. Ibu Desi, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Mbak Intan. Okay. Okay, so before I start, I want to congratulate IESR on the launch of the 2020 Climate Transparency Report. And thank you for inviting me as one of the speakers among other speakers. Salam for the other panel members. Good afternoon for all the participants. Today, I represent GGI to discuss how green growth can contribute to economic recovery post-COVID-19. This is the agenda of my presentations. I will briefly present about GGI and discuss the correlation of climate action and economic growth, and present the opportunities and recommendation of climate action to support economic recovery. Next. Maybe some of you not familiar with GGI. GGI is intergovernment organization. We support government to promote inclusive and environmentally sustainable economic growth. Currently, GGI has 38 member countries, operate in 30 countries. Indonesia actually one of the biggest program globally. Next. In Indonesia, we work in energy, green cities, forestry, forestry sector, and also we support lembaga administrasi negara. The scope of our work is from planning, enabling, and investment. We put also emphasis in investment, support the government to build the business model origination, project preparation until financing. Next. Yeah, let's come back to the today topic webinar on the what is the correlation between climate action and economic growth. We believe that there is strong correlation between low carbon pathway and economic growth. As you can see in the slide on the top chart, there is a blue and green line which represent development plan that can achieve 29% and 41%. So our RPJMN, our National Development Plan, already mainstream this NDC target. As you can see, the two scenarios outperform the economic growth potential than business as usual, represented the red line here. So there is a strong correlation, positive correlation, in fact, of the climate action to economic growth. So it's Indonesia has the opportunities of accelerating the climate action or climate project to revive the economy. This chart I taken from the report from Bapenas on the LCDI. Next. But how to prioritize climate actions in the government national development plan? How we select or identify that action or project can tackle the two challenges, which is economic recovery and climate change progression. So based on the report published by GGI in June 2020, we recommend the government to screen those climate action based on two sets of categories. The two set category is shown in the bottom of the diagram on the green diagram. Yeah, this two set category. First set category is to assess those projects with co-benefit criteria. The first criteria is how the project can impact the economic or have a bigger impact, economic multiplier, how the climate project can benefit other businesses or generate investment. Also, how this project can create job creation. That's important in the economic recovery. Yeah. And then whether the project can use equipment and supply that can be sourced domestically. The second set of criteria is on the implementation. One of the worry or challenges to mainstream green criteria in the stimulus package is the delay of execution. So it's important for us to pick the project then that can implement quickly with human resource that is available in Indonesia and require less training. Next. Yeah, this chart is as fresh as our reference. Yeah, this show recovery options. Yeah, list of recovery options that been assessed by its impact on climate on the left hand, yeah, and impact on the economic multiplier. This is done by the working paper. Yeah, I taken from the working paper report from Smith School. So based on the report, they assess is based on literature, also interview with finance ministries. Based on the report, you can see in the top right hand, there is activities or project can have both high potential climate impact and also high economic multiplier. The activities are clean energy resource and development, clean energy infrastructure investment, education investment, connectivity infrastructure investment, healthcare investment, and worker retraining. I think for the worker retraining is fit with our today title, which is just transitions. So employee who work in the brown project can be retained, so they can work in the green projects. Next. Yeah. So the next presentation will provide further justification to the opportunity that climate action can actually go hand in hand with economic recovery. This number is based on a GGI study. It found that job in renewable energy and energy efficiency can actually create it 2 until 5 times compared to job created from fossil fuel projects. Yeah, next. So this is the case for Indonesia. Under the electricity planning, the national electricity planning scenario, which already accounted the renewable energy mix target, 23% of renewable energy mix under the total energy mix of Indonesia, actually can create 7 million jobs in 2030, compared to if Indonesia apply a business as usual scenario, which only can create job 3.9 million. So it's around 2 more jobs if Indonesia apply or committed with the renewable energy mix target. So the majority of jobs in renewable energy will be created by investment in capital expenditure. So more job intensive at the initial stage, yeah. But it will be less labor intensive during the operation and maintenance. So, but those labor can free up when our economy already recovered. As shown by the previous slide, green infrastructure provide also not only create jobs, but also provide high economic multiplier effect. Yeah. Next. So green jobs, I think this is also mentioned in the report. and also from presentation from Ibu Kuki, green jobs can also created by the nature-based solutions or a solution working with nature, usually to tackle problems. This solution can tackle issues like water and food security and also disaster risk. Example of the program is restoration of peatland and mangrove, watershed management, and social forestry program. The implementation of this program, restoration, for example, restoration project, can be labor intensive. According to the study, $1 million US invested in nature-based solution in forestry can generate between 500 to 1,000 jobs in developing countries. Also, many of these projects require less training, less planning. Procurement can be also easily sourced in local. So it can provide a quick win for countries like Indonesia. GGI support this aspect. Yeah, we support national and provincial government in the forest restoration, forest management, and also community-based social forestry. Next. Yeah, also already mentioned with from the presentation of Ibu Kuki and Pak Nur, supporting micro, small, medium enterprises already is the main program of Indonesia Recovery Package. We believe that this action will retain jobs and also create jobs. Yeah. But we suggest that this initiative can be strengthened to incentivize SMEs that run green activities like waste management, climate smart agriculture. This already flourished, yeah, in urban area, led by millennial, example in Jakarta. Yeah. We hope that this can stimulate innovation in green technology. In addition, such incentives should be also made available for smallholders to create jobs in rural areas. GGI has two relevant programs currently involving SMEs. The first program is Greenpreneur. This is a business plan competition where the winner can obtain small-scale seed funding. On the right-hand side is the photo of one of the winner, yeah, from Indonesia, Nurofram. The second program is Technopreneur. Actually, this program we are still developing with Korean Development Bank and Green Climate Fund. This is to support entrepreneurs with climate technology solution. The facility will provide a seed funding facility, incubation activities, and also we will matchmake between a local and local technopreneur with global. Yeah, thank you. With global techno companies. Next. This is my last presentation. So in conclusion, we believe that the government can accelerate the ongoing climate action that have already a green job potential. And also, as discussed before, the long list of climate actions that already in the RPJMN can be further assessed with the co-benefit, whether how that impact employment and also health. Green investment are better than brown. Not only they create more jobs, but they offer higher economic multiplier and increase food and water security. Echo the suggestion from the report, the strengthening of enabling conditions should be also continued, and GGI will continue its support to increase favorable enabling environment, especially for energy, forestry, and green city sector. That is the end of my presentation. All in all, we believe that green growth presents opportunity to sustainable and resilient economic recovery. Thank you. Back to Mbak Intan.
Thank you, Ibu Desi. Wow, it's amazing presentation, Ibu. I learned a lot, and I'm sure all the audience also learned a lot from you, especially for the interconnections of green investment programs and policy toward accelerating Indonesia economic in post-COVID-19. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Bapak dan Ibu, now please fasten your seatbelt. We are flying to Bangkok. We are honored for another amazing speaker, Dr. Cristina Martinez from ILO, the senior specialist on environment and design work at the ILO Regional Office for Asia Pacific in Bangkok. She earned her doctorate degree from the University of New South Wales. She will give presentation on green jobs and just energy transition for environmental sustainability in Indonesia. Dr. Cristina, the screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and Salam Alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for the United Nations International Labour Organization to participate in this webinar today. And I'm very grateful to the Institute for Essential Services Reform for inviting the ILO to contribute to this forum. Congratulations also on the Climate Transparency Report. Is an excellent analysis, as well as this discussion today. The previous panelist presentations are an excellent background for the discussion that will happen after. The COVID-19, we all know, is an immense humanitarian crisis, but it's also one of the most devastating employment crises we have ever had. And perhaps due to this dramatic situation and the fact that a healthy environment is good for combating the pandemic, we have seen in the last few months much more interest for including green drivers in the Building Back Better recovery packages that address COVID-19 that we saw in the beginning of the crisis. So I think we can be certainly somehow positive or have hope that things are going to be better at this regard. I will discuss during this presentation some key aspects in relation to the energy sector transition. Next, please, next slide. First of all, let's have a look at the ILO projections for green jobs in Asia Pacific. This projection by 2030 was done before the pandemic, based specifically on changes to be done to energy production and use, plus the education and skills requirements. And you can see in this figure, the Asia Pacific is the green jobs hotspot of the world. When we look at other regions in the world, including very developed countries such in Europe, but in these countries, when we look at the net jobs gain, so we need to deduct the jobs that might be lost because some of the industries will need to transition. You can think about coal, but you can also think about oil. And when we look at this, we see the net job creation can be is posed to be negative in Africa and in the Middle East because the reliance on fossil fuels, but positive in the Americas, European region, and very, very positive figures, projections for Asia Pacific. Now, the question is not just that the energy transition will bring jobs. This, I think, all the speakers before also agree on this, but is Indonesia at the core of the hotspot? Well, we know, in fact, China and India are at the core due to their solar power sector, not only fabrication in China, but also the services that can be done at the level of software, for example, also in India. Can we anticipate what Indonesia needs to focus on for having a major share of green jobs? So let's think that, or let's discuss for a moment that a major challenge for greening labor markets and job creation is to make sure that workers, especially the youth, have the right skills. More than 8 in every 10 workers in the region are in either low skills occupations, this is 16%, or medium skills occupations, 67%. Many countries in Asia will experience a surplus of low-level skills increase by 2020. And skills shortages will continue to increase, particularly for jobs requiring highly skilled workers. So skill shortages already present a major hurdle for the just energy transition, and particularly in certain sectors and occupations, such as wind, wave and tidal power, and renewable energies for manufacturing, construction and installation. This was true before the pandemic, and with the disruption to the education systems, the situation, we believe, has been worsening. The just transition will need to address reform of education systems and the lack of teachers and trainers in renewable energy areas. I'm discussing here concrete steps for climate actions that we can take, that Indonesia can take, and for what has been presented today, I'm certain this pathway has already started. And to do this transformation, we need horizontal policy coordination across ministries of education, labor, and environmental environment, as well as the fiscal stimulus that we have already heard. In the next slide, you can see, next one, please. Yes, you can see what we understand by green jobs. And do we all agree about what green jobs are? Well, we have just completed an analysis of ASEAN green jobs readiness, and there is not a unique definition. By the way, I will not share the link to this study yet because it needs to be approved by the ASEAN Secretariat and the ASEAN member states, including Indonesia, but it will be ready very soon. For the ILO, jobs that are green are central to sustainable development and resource productivity. And these are jobs that are good for the economy, good for the environment, and good for people, because they need to comply with the 4 conditions of the decent work agenda. They need to be quality jobs. They need to set and promote standards and fundamental principles and rights at work. They need also to create greater opportunities for women and men to decent employment and income. They also need to enhance the coverage and effectiveness of social protection for all. And we have heard today that Indonesia is already investing on social protection quite heavily. And finally, they need to strengthen tripartite and social dialogue. And there is no just transition if we don't have the social dialogue mechanism working well with governments, employers and workers, pushing along with all the other stakeholders. Please go to the next slide, where this is just an example. When we think about a just transition rich on green jobs, we know that this will not happen automatically. It will happen by design in the way that IESRI is already signaling in this forum. We need to understand the detail. For example, which occupations are lacking in the country or need to be updated for developing the wind power in Indonesia. And you can see in this table many different occupations, from equipment manufacturing to project development to construction and installation to operations and maintenance. When we talk about green jobs, we are talking about the detail of the occupations and how these occupations are sophisticated enough to take Indonesia to the next step. And these are the backbone of the green jobs, and of course, the design of curriculum for Tibet or by Tibet institutions, training and vocational education and training, by universities, by think tanks, and by all the other, even private sector institutes to respond to the different needs and skills to change the employment structures. We could have the same table or a similar table for wave and tidal power, for solar power, for hydropower, for biomass and geothermal, all renewable energy, but not all the subsectors need the same type of skills, the same type of skill setting, or the same type of occupational profiles. So when we talk about renewable energies, what will be the focus? What will be the first priority? What Indonesia wants to achieve at first? And the next slide, that is my last slide, I believe, is looking at the different partnerships that Indonesia already have. There are many more than these ones, but I'm highlighting the ones that we are investing more at the moment. And one is the PACE, the Partnership for Action on the Green Economy. Indonesia is one of 5 countries in Asia participating in this program. The program is implemented together with the government of Indonesia, with Bappenas, by the United Nations agencies, UN Environment, the ILO, UNDP, UNIDO, and UNITAR. And we have a full program for the next 4 to 5 years to work together with the stakeholders in the region, in Indonesia, to achieve the actions. So the PACE focuses on climate actions. The other countries in the region are Thailand, who just joined, Mongolia, that is already graduating, India, and China. The other partnership I want to highlight, because I think is quite significant, is the ASEAN Green Jobs Forum, where Indonesia is participating as well. The 10 ASEAN member countries are the only multi-country gathering that has Green Jobs Declaration, is advancing green jobs implementation through this declaration, and I believe this year, with the chair of Indonesia, we will go much next year, much further on the implementation of the Green Jobs Declaration. The last partnership that I want to discuss is the UN Climate Action for Jobs initiative. This is a bold initiative driven by the climate emergency, and I think we are at the steps of a much bigger pandemic than COVID-19, because some of the measures that we can do for the COVID-19 will not work for the climate emergency. And the UN Secretary General, together with the ILO, have launched the initiative to progress action with very specific interventions in the countries. I can talk about this another time, but we welcome Indonesia to participate in this initiative and all of you to follow the initiative. Just to finish with a message, what can I leave as a message for the discussion is that we need to plan for the just transition. The just transition is a planning process. It will require substantial efforts by governments at national, regional and local levels, employers and workers and the civic society, the institutes that like the IESR that have the technical knowledge to come together to succeed. And success lies in the coordination mechanism as well as on social dialogue. So a coordination mechanism without this social dialogue will not accelerate or succeed in the same way to the structural changes to the work at the ground level in a way that the production and use of energy in Indonesia is transformative. Thank you very much. Salam alaikum.
Thank you, Ibu, for the impressive presentation. I can feel your energy, your optimism for the opportunities for Indonesia in pursuing green job, Ibu. Thank you. Now we are flying back to Jakarta. I can sense the audience can wait for the Q&A, but wait, we do have our last amazing speaker that will talk about her organizations to install rooftop solar system. What is that? As a real action achieving climate target. Without further ado, I would like to invite Ibu Lucia Karina. Ibu Karina, she is a Public Affairs, Communications, and Sustainability Director of Coca-Cola Amatil Indonesia. Ibu Karina graduated from Institute of 10 November Surabaya. Please give a big round of applause to Ibu Karina. Ibu Karina, the screen is yours.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, semangat pagi. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semuanya. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Thank you for inviting me to this webinar and for giving the opportunity to talk about Coca-Cola Amatil Indonesia initiative in sustainability, particularly in reducing carbon emission. Next slide, please. First of all, let me introduce about our company, Coca-Cola Amatil Indonesia. Coca-Cola Amatil Indonesia is a leading ready-to-drink non-alcoholic beverage producer and also distributor that has been operating in Indonesia since 1992. Amatil Indonesia is a subsidiary of Coca-Cola Amatil, one of the largest bottling and distributing products licensed under the Coca-Cola Company. They have a headquarters in Sydney, Australia. Amatil Indonesia operates 8 bottling plants and 2 pre-warm plants across Indonesia, located in Bekasi, Bandung, Semarang, Surabaya, Bali, Medan, and Lampung. We currently employ more than 9,500 Indonesian people who are our main asset in our business. We always demonstrate our commitment to support Indonesia economic growth through sustainable investment by adding production lines, technology, and enhancing the capability of our employees. We always put our best effort into our operation and ensuring that we deliver happiness every day to our consumers, customers, partners, communities, and shareholders across the country. We are also committed to protecting the environment through the continuous improvement of process, products, services, as well as program implementation in the water conservation, energy, and also the waste management area. Next slide, please. At Coca-Cola Amatil Indonesia, we have a comprehensive range of program to drive our sustainability across the business. The slide that you see actually is our framework, our strategy for our sustainability initiative. And this sustainability plans actually guided by Coca-Cola Amatil Sustainability Framework and the Coca-Cola Company Sustainability Agenda. We believe by achieving our commitment on packaging, water, energy, and carbon reduction, biodiversity, and responsible sourcing, we will create a positive legacy and ensure minimal impact on our environment. Our strategy itself for growing our business has always been aligned with our comprehensive sustainability efforts, which means growing our business in the right way. We believe that our approach to our environmental sustainability and also creating value for society is integrated and consistent with shareholders' value, which is agreed by our board of directors in Coca-Cola Amatil Group. In line with this, in 2017, our Coca-Cola Amatil Group declared a public commitment to the sustainability target that we will achieve by the end of 2020. One of them is about climate change and energy, where we are committed to playing a role in limiting the global temperature rise to no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius. In Indonesia, we are targeting at least 60% of our energy needs to come from renewable and low carbon energy by the end of 2020. And we almost close to this target. We also do this in order to support the government Indonesia commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emission by 314 million tons of CO2 by 2030 in accordance with the ratification of the Paris Agreement last November. Next slide, please. So we believe that renewable energy is one of the most effective tools we have in Amatil Indonesia to fight the climate change, to prevent the worst effects of rising temperatures and save the planet for future generations. In our day-to-day operation, we strive to reduce carbon emission associated with each stage in our beverage life cycle, which is start from the raw materials, the ingredients, the packaging, and the process, how it's made and distributed, and finally, how we keep our products stay cool to create millions of moment happiness of our consumer wherever and whenever they are. At the end of 2019, actually, we have achieved 53.3% of the energy use that sources from renewable or from low carbon energy. The majority of this achievement is coming from the natural gas. Next slide, please. As I mentioned before that, we also have a commitment to keep our product fresh, to create a moment happiness for our consumer. So we, over the time, are investing and upgrading the cooler fridges used in the customer premises to more energy efficient models. So we are replacing the refrigerants we use with those with lower energy that used on the cooler, and we actually known as the most energy efficient coolers of this type in the world. And Indonesia, one of the distribution of the Coca-Cola company that use this energy saving cooler. Currently, we have nearly 250,000 energy efficient coolers available at our sites. And by reducing this cooler, we can save energy from 4 kilowatt hours to only 2 kilowatt hours. We save energy by 178 million kilowatt per year, or the equivalent of 134 million of kilogram of carbon emission. Next slide, please. So this is our latest investment. So we are trying to improve our energy management system at all our facilities, including renewable energy solution and energy assessment is in the program to help us reduce our carbon footprint. Our energy efficiency also have improved significantly over the last period. We are working to increase the energy efficiency by including investment in the panel surya. For this investment, actually, we have been generate 7.134 megawatt power of solar power during peak capacity during the day, or about 9.6 million kilowatt hours of electricity per annum. This investment is about 87 billion rupiah, or around 8.3 million US dollar. Will able to cut the carbon emission by 8.9 million kilograms a year. This initiative is part of our commitment in supporting the government pledge to limit global warming and reduce emission by obtaining at least 60% of our energy needs from renewable and low carbon sources. This solar panel also is the largest solar panel installed in a manufacturing facility single site in Asia, and also the information that we receive in Asia Pacific. So next. So the West Cikarang facility is the first step into the solar panel as we look to expand this initiative to additional sites across Indonesia, such as Pasuruan plant and also Semarang plant. We are aware that the investment costs for a rooftop solar panel in Indonesia are very expensive. We thought the battery actually is about 10 to 12 years payback. So the break-even point actually is long enough for the investment, but we will try to realize our commitment to expand our solar panel project to Surabaya and Semarang next year. And in fact, we are currently conducting a feasibility study for those facilities. So next. Okay, this is a challenging slide. It's not only talking about the challenges on the solar panel investment, but also it's challenging slide because I have to explain in front of the government also. So this initiative we did for one of the objective for this initiative also is supporting the Indonesian government target to reduce greenhouse gas emission. However, there is a lot of complication that we found during the investment, during the installation, and during the operation, particularly on the bureaucracy that lengthened the permit processing time and also high cost to get this initiative. We recognize that we have a role to play in driving change for the better to save the planet for future generations. But if the government didn't solve these challenges, I think that maybe it's going to hesitate or create the hesitation or hold other industry to invest in renewable energy. And I think it's going to be one of the biggest challenges in achieving SDGs commitment and the government target in reducing carbon emission. At Coca-Cola Amatil Indonesia also, we have tried to put the advocacy to the government. We have suggested to the Indonesian government to consider several things to attract the other industry, such as speed up and shorten the process of installing and operating solar panel. Just use what we say that one gate for all the permits. provide stimulus or tax incentive, and also maybe tax credit for solar panel, which have been implemented by several countries such as US, Australia, I think England also. The abolition of capacity charge by PLN, 100% payment of electricity exported by the solar panels to the PLN grid, and to reward those parties who have invested in renewable energy and reducing the usage of fossil fuel energy. If we are not pushing the government to act fast to change this kind of policy, we are missing a big piece of the puzzle. So let's do quickly since we still have a time. So next, this is the end of my presentation, but on this occasion, I would like to invite everybody to get involved and work together in maximizing the usage of renewable energy as our priority in our life. Let's start reducing the use of fossil energy and turn to renewable energy. Let's have a lot of hope that humanity can overcome. Motivate other people to act. Don't despair. There is still so much to play for. So we have to act. We have to take bold action so that we can pass on the beautiful earth to our children and grandchildren of our next generation. So thank you for the attention, and semoga semesta mendukung. Salam Rahayu. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu. That was such an eye-opener presentations, Ibu. We have to act fast for our next generations. And we do hope another private sectors will also learn from Coca-Cola. Ladies and gentlemen, Bapak and Ibu, we are moving to question and answer sessions. Okay, first questions to Prof. Nur. Pak Nur?
Yes, Bu. Okay.
Yeah, because you're the only man. Men's first now. Pak Nur, who can access the stimulus package, Pak, since you are presenting the financing stimulus for a green economic recovery, Pak? And also another question from Kevin Ramadan. Do you think more province district will adopt the scheme in the future? If so, do you think this scheme will be effective in ensuring subnational governments in Indonesia to protect the government, promote green investment, and reduce greenhouse gas? You have two questions, Pak.
Yeah, can you repeat the first question, Pak?
The first question is, since you present the financing stimulus for green economic recovery, who actually can access the stimulus package?
Okay. Yes. I will come to the first the second question first on the possibilities of the more effective TAPE or fiscal transfer fiscal transfer on ecological on ecological fiscal transfer. Right? I think this is a good initiative today that we may have each other from the different level of the government with regard to the climate change or any environmental issues. The initiative should the motivation should come for each of the government to make this program to be successful in the future. And if there is some requirement that we need to put it into our considerations, that we need to also measure our fiscal capacity. So the fiscal capacity for each government either for the government, for the province or district level. So we need to be aware that we have some limitation or some boundaries in there on fiscal capacity. So then, if they have some capability to provide this initiative, to be very good if they can make it to be happen. And the second one is what we should also clear is about the indicators or requirement or prerequisite, we can say that, to enable this initiative make more effective, because we need to have some clear identification of the purposes or the objective of the program, and then we may need make it how to say it, equitable among level of government or among the sectors that will have some priorities to be supported with regard to the initiative of the fiscal transfer with regard of this. So then, if we have that clear identification of the indicators, I think, and again of the objectives, then we may come with some initiatives to provide some incentive or support for the different level of the government, and we may make some priority program to be running well, I think. So this is at least from my point of view today, at least two important things that need the government to take into consideration. And we can access to the green facilities with regard to the PEN, yeah, to the recovery, how to say it, the PEN, yeah, the economic recovery stimulus. Actually, there are some, as we are already understood that the PEN itself particularly dedicated to support the health and economic sectors to be enable us to recover from this pandemic. This is the first side of mind that we need to have in this regard. But from the green perspective, we can say that we may look that some part of the PEN is all allocated for supporting the green initiative, and we may name it like the tax incentive to the renewable energy development and forestry recovery. Also accommodate in the PEN program, yeah. And then also some duty exemption for the machinery and technology that is environmental friendly. Also any additional subsidy for the B30 development. And also there is some support for the local government in terms of the DID, the incentive fund for the local government in managing their waste management. And also the green incentive in the PEN program also dedicated for at least 4 line ministries. Yeah, some of the output identify as the output of the mitigation and adaptation program through our climate budget taking process. It's dedicated for the development and revitalization of the irrigation system, and the development and then management of infrastructure and supporting facility for the railway sector, and for the water and irrigation management for the agriculture, as well as for the development of and protection for the agriculture. And it's also some part of the allocation may goes to the mangrove support. So I think that kind of the PEN support the green initiative with this regard. That's my point, Pak. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Nur, for the explanation. So we move to another questions. For Ibu Karina. Apa betul, Bu, there is a requirement from the overseas market? Is there a requirement from the overseas market that used to apply the renewable energy, Bu? Is there a requirement?
Yes, there is some countries actually that apply this requirement, particularly from the Europe Union. So they have they call a Renewable Energy Directive or RED. So anyone that wants to intend to supply their products to those countries, they have to apply the certificate of RED. And some of the country also use what they call renewable portfolio standard, and they also, or we call RPS. So they also have to obtain this kind of certification of following the standard, and they have to make sure that the process to make the product actually using the renewable energy. Yep.
Thank you, Ibu, for the explanations. Do we have another questions here? We check. One moment. Oh, from Arif Rizky. And this one for, so I read the question first. Is there any guarantee on the increase of jobs in renewable energy sector, considering that the education quality in Indonesia is still on the low level compared to other countries, that maybe the lack of expert renewable energy sector will happen? So it will goes to Ibu Desi.
Alright, thank you Mbak Intan. Kedengaran suara saya ya?
Ada yang japri, Bu.
Okay, so I think for some of the renewable energy technology, Indonesia has the expert, yeah. For example, like biogas, biomass, yeah, I think it's already known technology for Indonesia. Not to mention the micro hydro. Yeah. So, but maybe for advanced technology, maybe for geothermal, yeah, and I think there's like gasifications, yeah, but the more advanced gasification technology, maybe the Indonesia can still need to gain the expert, but the government can invite, yeah, foreign companies to transfer the technology. Yeah, I think the joint venture setup can also allow that kind of technology transfer. But in line with the just transition principle in this today topic, I think the government and also supporting by the development partner can work together to support the retraining of workers, yeah, retraining tadi worker from fossil fuel projects or new workers to start gain expert for this renewable energy technology. I think that's on my side. I'm not really expert of energy, but that is my insight. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I hope Pak Arif can gain information for Ibu Desi. Do we have another questions here?
Mbak Intan?
Yeah, Ibu.
Yeah, can I jump in? Because I saw there
Sure.
are some other questions as well, including one question on just transition in the tourism sector. I think from I couldn't remember, but one of the participants asked about the views of green economy or a transition towards green economy in tourism sector. I think this is exactly what we need to do also in Indonesia, and align with Ms. Martinez's presentation. This will be part of the green jobs linking with the adaptation to the impact of the climate change. As we know, in Indonesia, for example, if you are talking about the tourism sector, then it's not only, it's not only the hotel, it's not only the travel agents or the flights, airlines, but it's also, it will dealing a lot with the, let's say, the informal sectors, like, vendors of souvenirs, or also, all these small restaurants, warung-warung, and all those things. So there is a need to have for the government to pay attention, I think, to this sector, to these particular sectors, and hopefully, after the pandemic, then we can adapt with the new situation also, because tourism is one of the sector that hit the hardest at the moment, especially in those key and the 10 new tourism destination, for example, they are now hit the hardest. So we need to work on that as well. If it's okay, I want to touch upon a number of questions also to respond to a number of questions. I think Ibu Karina already mentioned about the RPS, but even though there is, like only a number of countries, or it's getting more and more to the countries that are requesting cleaner or smaller carbon footprint. But there is a big initiative by many businesses or private sectors to have this renewable 100, the RE 100. So in this RE 100 is basically the process, as Ibu Karina already mentioned, the energy need to be supplied 100% by renewable energy. And as Bu Karina already mentioned also, this is a big challenge for us in Indonesia, because there are a lot of currently regulations and unsupported policies for the renewable energy development. And the last one, Mbak, on the green jobs, there was a question about the last that being responded by Mbak Desi as well. I think one of the issue here and the biggest challenge for us is to prepare our education system. So it's not only, like the formal education at school, at universities, but also the vocational one. And this, I think if we are talking about just transition, then this is one of the elements that need to be addressed, how our education system will be, ready to this kind of transition. Thank you, Mbak.
Thank you, Ibu. It's clear information from you. Do we have another questions here? Oh, okay. Ibu Christina, are you still there?
Yes, I am still here, and I following the discussion. I think it's the points are really clear for advancing. Do you want me to comment on some?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Well, I think the discussion on education and skills is very relevant here. Indonesia is a big country, is a sophisticated country. The commitments to climate change are not new. You know, from the early times of the COPs, Indonesia has always been quite upfront with action for climate. The issue perhaps is how we reach all the sectors of the economy, and the point about informality is very important here because we have a huge amount of informal workers that contribute to energy as well, but they are not counted. They are not counted. They are not part of education and skills training, and they also have many, if not all, not decent jobs. So the capacity to contribute in the most positive way to the society with a job that is rewarding. And Madam Chair, you mentioned at the beginning the worst transition is from Sunday to Monday. And it's very true, but imagine if instead of going back to one of our jobs that are very rewarding and are safe and clean, we have to go back to a job that has that is more close to slavery than to have a rewarding job. So this issue is quite tricky, and we need to do more work in all countries about it, so that the market there is a knowledge-intensive market, and we cannot have a knowledge-intensive market and services if we don't tackle the issue of informality in our industries. I think the reforms on education system can be very important, but there are others, including migration, for example, and how migrant workers are included in these reforms so that they can contribute as well to the knowledge intensity of Indonesia. And with the world going so fast with knowledge in development, we are always trying to catch up with the next innovation. So I think, yes, we need to focus on this issue of the knowledge intensity for transforming the energy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ibu Christina. Do we have another questions? Oh, we do have here. Oh, to all female panelists. Sorry, Pak Nur. You're left out. Okay, for all the ladies here, what skills needed in the job market to deploy renewable energy in Indonesia? This one for the all female panelists. Maybe I can start from Ibu Karina. Ibu.
Sorry, this is a complicated time because I also have to be the speaker on the other webinar.
Wow.
So I'm in front of a two laptop now. Okay, what I believe is this is not only for female, because I think someone have made the survey about the female involvement in the renewable energy is about 35 or 32%. But for me, this is not about female or male, but this is about commitment. And if you are asking about what the skills needed, the first that I think that we have to do is having the hope. Having the hope and motivating its other people. And the other things also that we need to touch our children. We need to touch our team in office or in the factory that this climate change is our responsibility. So we have to start from the bottom of the skills. It's not only about the technological skills. I do understand that we have a gap in Indonesia, and we have worked also. I mean, Coca-Cola Amatil Indonesia also work with Ministry of Manpower and Ministry of Industry to try to skilling up the knowledge for the particularly on the cooler, on the fridges. So we actually adding more values to the SMK and also the university students. So they are welcome to us to join our research on the lowering the energy usage for our fridges. But I think the fundamental is that we have to keep. It's not on about the technical skills. It's about hope. It's about willing to do, and it's about action. And the skill is just adding after we already have this kind of behavior. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu. You're so efficient, ya, Ibu, to screen in one time.
Yeah, this the invitation coming from the Ministry of Transportation, so I can't reject to join. And
it's okay, Ibu. It's an honor for us to have you.
To go back. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Mbak Desi, do you want to add something on the skill that we need to have?
Yeah, I agree with Ibu Lucia that we not only need technical skills, but also other general occupations need to be exposed to this renewable energy. For example, myself is a financial modeler. Yeah, before I the oil and gas financial modeler for acquisition upstream assets. But I don't know how to model renewable energy project. Yeah, so that's just an example. Other occupation as well, sales need to know what the kind of product they sell, right? They need to know the renewable energy technology inspector. Yeah, but also I want to touch base on the entrepreneurial skills. Yeah, because there's a lot of opportunity for renewable energy innovations, especially in Indonesia. We have also a lot of still villages area is not connected to the main grid, still off grid. Yeah, so we should stimulate this innovation from youngsters to they can create green technology for renewable energy. I think that's my addition, Mbak Intan.
Thank you, Mbak Desi. Questions? More questions?
Do you want me to add?
Oh, sure.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I think yes, I think the previous panelists have made an important point about social skills as well, but also there are some very practical skills that the low skill level workers can upgrade and utilize to be transferred to the opportunities that green jobs in renewable energies is bringing. And one of them I think all of us can think of is the workers that build roofs in a house, in the construction sector. And now in most countries, they are also installing solar panels. And when you look at that particular skill of installing solar panels is not that you require a sort of new people going to the roof and installing the solar panels. You need to use workers that are able to be in the roof without falling over. And that is not everybody. I probably, it will be difficult for me to do that job. But when you ask to a worker that usually is putting the roof, building a roof with slates, for example, I asked recently the one that was fixing my mom's, my parents' roof, and I asked him, "Are you also you also install solar panels?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "How long you have to train for that?" And he said, this was in Spain, where my family lives. He said, "Well, I have very little education, but I work, always have been working on this sector, and I only needed to do 2 hours training to be able to install solar panels. Maybe the standard is 2 weeks, but we have people there that only with a very small amount of training is able to do this. So that's why the training and skills and what skills are needed in Indonesia will depend of the focus of the subsector, and then what are the skill shortages there. And then we can certainly see the low-level skills and the other spectrum, the high-level skills of the green jobs and occupations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Christina. Ibu Kuki?
Yes, can I add, because Ibu Martinez already mentioned about these technical skills, and if I can say this kind of low-hanging fruit of the skills that we can gain from the existing labor force. I think if we are talking about renewable energy deployment, then it's not only the skills in the technical aspect, as Ibu Martinez mentioned earlier, but we do need, maybe it's not skills, but more education, educated people in the area of starting from the regulatory and policies elements of it. Because if we don't have enough people or resources or human resources that understand the policies and the regulation that is needed for renewable energy deployment, then we're gonna have another barrier, and we're gonna hit another walls for having this renewable energy in Indonesia. The second area, I think, is on the financing, because financing has always been the issue for renewable energy development and deployment in Indonesia, and also the planning of the system itself, because I think it's not always the same talking about renewable energy, let's say supply system with the fossil base, for example. So we need those people. It's not only the skills in technical terms, but also we need educated human resources that can support the development and deployment of renewable energy in Indonesia. Stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Kuki. I think this is it. We are approaching to our ending our morning sessions. If I may to wrap up for these morning sessions. First of all, I would like to thank you for all the amazing speakers and all the audience here. I gain a lot of information, and I believe all the audience here gain information from all the spectacular, amazing people, speaker here. Thank you so much. And I would like to wrap up this morning session that accelerating Indonesians' recovery and green economic growth, it needs a response from multi-stakeholders, from businesses to policymakers, that goes hand in hand. This requires an ongoing dialogue to achieve a regulatory framework which enables rapid, predictable, and socially balanced emission reduction to transition to net zero emission by 2050. Thank you so much all the speaker panelists, Ibu Kuki, Pak Nur, Ibu Desi, Mrs. Christina, and Ibu Karina, and all the audience. And thank you for the IASR that organizing this event. I'm sure all of you gains lots of takeaways from this morning's session. Stay productive and stay healthy. Back to MC.
Thank you, Mbak Intan.
Thank you, Ms. Intan, for moderating the panel discussion. Now we would like to ask for all the panelists and Mr. Fabi Tumiwa as the director of ISR and Ms. Lisa Wijayani to join the screen to take a picture together to conclude our first session. Please, all the panelists to show the videos.
For all the participants joining online, you are welcome also to open your video if you would like to and be on the screen, and we'll take a picture together. Untuk Bapak Ibu yang bergabung secara online atau secara daring melalui Zoom, diperkenankan mengaktifkan webcamnya agar kita dapat bisa berfoto bersama untuk di sesi pertama. Mohon stay sebentar karena ada beberapa screen ya. Kita ambil dulu untuk yang screen pertama. View yang square. Udah? Baik, kita akan mulai di screen pertama. Senyum, cheers. Please smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, hold on. Please stay. Now we're moving on the second screen. Cheers. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kuki. Desi, thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you, Feb.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, bye.
Thank you, Pak Feb.
Halo, Pak Nur.
Thank you for the panelists for sharing with us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending the first session of the Climate Transparency Launch this morning. That is conclude the first session of today. We will continue the second session with the same Zoom link at 2 p.m. after the lunch break. The link will be open for all of you to stay while watching the finalist video of Climate Innovation Hack. For the Zoom audience, if you want to stay, we will play a movie during the break. Please enjoy the show. Thank you all and see you this afternoon.